Beneath the waters of the world, the greatest secret of human history may lie. An empire adorned with golden palaces, with technology ahead of its time, submerged in a single night. For thousands of years, it has been told only as a legend. But what if we are wrong? What if Atlantis is not a fairy tale, but a giant cemetery waiting to be found? Modern technology, satellites, and Google Earth have begun to reveal traces that no one can hide anymore. Today, we will look at those anomalies in the depths. If you are ready, we are embarking on a journey toward the lost memory of humanity. It all started about 2,400 years ago in two dialogues of Plato, one of history's greatest philosophers, Timaeus and Critias. In these texts, Plato mentions a trip made by the Athenian statesman Solon to Egypt. Egyptian priests told Solon of a massive island state beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which we know today as the Strait of Gibraltar. According to Plato, Atlantis was larger than Libya and Asia of that period combined. It had a massive navy, intertwined circular water canals, and temples covered with a mysterious, fire-like glowing metal called orichalcum. However, this magnificent civilization incurred the wrath of the gods and sank into the darkness of the ocean, after a day and a night of terrible earthquakes and floods. So, could Plato have made up this story? Most historians argue that it is an allegory of an ideal state. But Plato insists in his text. This is not a fiction, but a true history. If it is real, where is this massive piece of land that sank 9,000 years ago? This is where the truly exciting part begins. In 2009, when Google Earth's ocean floor data was updated, an internet user noticed something incredible in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. Off the coast of North Africa, about 5,000 meters below sea level, there was a grid structure consisting of perfect straight lines, about the size of whales. This structure was like the street plan of a massive city. Perfect 90-degree angles, roads parallel to each other. The news exploded in the world press. Atlantis found on Google Earth. Google immediately made a statement at the time, arguing that it was a sonar error, a visual pollution caused by the routes of the ships collecting the data. However, many researchers were not satisfied. Why had these routes created such a symmetrical structure only in that region? And why was that region exactly opposite the Pillars of Hercules that Plato pointed to? When you look at those coordinates today, you can see that those lines are still there or that they are being tried to be deleted with some updates. Is this a mistake, or is the cover of the greatest archaeological find in history being closed? In recent years, Atlantis theorists have turned the route from the ocean to land, to the heart of Africa. The Richat Structure in Mauritania, also known as the Eye of the Sahara. This is a geological formation consisting of intertwined rings that resembles a giant eye when viewed from space. Now, hold on tight. While describing Atlantis, Plato mentions a wide plain surrounded by mountains to the north and opening to the sea to the south, consisting of 3 water rings and 2 land rings. The aerial view of the Richat structure fits this description of Plato perfectly. Moreover, its diameter is almost exactly the same as the measurements given by Plato, 120 stadia. So, how can there be a sea city in the middle of the Sahara Desert? Geological research proves that the Sahara was once covered with lakes and rivers, and even that the region was at sea level before rising with tectonic movements. Atlantis was perhaps not an island, but a coastal civilization buried under the sands by a major flood disaster on the coast of the African continent. Plato says that Atlantis sank about 11,600 years ago. According to the scientific world, this date coincides exactly with the period called the Younger Dryas, when the last ice age ended. At that time, the world experienced a massive ice melt due to the suddenly warming climate. Sea levels rose by more than 100 meters all at once. Could this be the starting point of the great flood stories in human history? If Atlantis was a developed port city built on the seashore, it stood no chance against this sudden rise. Within a few days, only piles of rubble under deep waters may have remained from a developed civilization. Was Atlantis only in the Atlantic Ocean, or was it a global empire? Off the Bahamas, the Bimini Road, lying underwater, looks like a road made of perfect rectangular stones. Although geologists say this is a natural formation, many people believe it is a part of Atlantis. Likewise, the Yonaguni ruins in Japan. There are massive stepped pyramids, columns, and surfaces underwater. These underwater structures around the world whisper this to us. In human history, there is a lost link that mainstream history does not accept. Long before writing and agriculture, someone who ruled the seas and could process massive stones was here. According to legend, Atlantis was not just a rich city, but also a technological giant. Plato mentions the orichalcum metal covering the walls of their buildings. This metal was said to be the most precious thing after gold. Recently, alloys very similar to this metal were recovered from a ship that sank off Sicily. Could this be physical evidence that increases the reality of the legend? Furthermore, some theorists even claim that Atlanteans used a type of energy through crystals and had flying vehicles. Of course, these are not proven facts, but the similarity of pyramids and megalithic structures across the ancient world strengthens this lost source theory. The knowledge that built the Egyptian pyramids was perhaps the legacy carried by those who survived the sinking of Atlantis. If the location of Atlantis is known somewhere, why is it not officially announced? Some say it is the fear of rewriting history books. If there was a civilization more advanced than us 10,000 years before us, that linear understanding of history we call progress collapses. Also, deep-sea exploration is incredibly expensive and difficult. We have explored only 5% of the ocean floor. We know the surface of the moon better than the bottom of the ocean. Perhaps Atlantis lies silently under thousands of years of sediment and mud, much deeper than those lines we see on Google Earth. Another strong claim is the Doñana National Park in southern Spain. Satellite images show massive circular city structures under the swamps. Archaeologist Richard Freund argues that the structures here fit Plato's description of Atlantis exactly and were buried under mud by a tsunami disaster. Excavations here are still ongoing, and every day a new wall, a new canal trace is found. Atlantis. It is not just a lost city, but also a warning against the arrogance of mankind. As Plato said, if you put your power ahead of ethics and virtue, nature and the gods can erase you in a single night. Whether those lines we see on Google Earth today, that giant eye in the heart of the Sahara, or those circular structures in the swamps of Spain. Whichever is the real Atlantis, one thing is certain. Our past is much more complex and magnificent than what we have been told. Perhaps one day the waters will recede, the sands will blow away, and Atlantis will meet the sunlight again. Until that day, it will continue its sleep in the depths. So, what do you think? Do you think Atlantis is at the bottom of the ocean or under the sands? Or is it all just a figment of a philosopher's imagination? Let's discuss this mystery together in the comments. If you liked the video, do not forget to press the like button and subscribe to the channel to be with us on such mysterious journeys. Remember, the truth is always out there somewhere, just waiting to be discovered. See you in the next mystery.